So this may come as a surprise to some of you, but I really like the X-Men. Shocking, I know. And over the roughly 3 years that I have been a fan of the Merry Mutants, I have come to accumulate a decent amount of knowledge about them. I would never presume to call myself an expert, but I generally know enough to tell when someone has no idea what they're talking about. And there are several misconceptions about the X-Men which I have run across which bother me a lot. And today, I would like to clear those up. Or maybe I'm just venting. Who knows? Our first misconception is in regards to Yagal Jean Grey. Jean has become the source of a lot of memes in a way, whether about how she's supposedly useless or about how she has this bad habit of dying over and over again. So I guess she's more like Meme Grey, am I right? I'm gonna delete my channel.
But even though it is mostly a joke, I do think that there's a bit of confusion in regards to how many times Jean has actually died. There's already a video that goes over this in much greater detail than I can, which I will link in the description, but the gist is not as many times as you might think. There was the first time in the Dark Phoenix saga when she died on the moon, but we find out later that that wasn't really her, so yeah.
And then she like half died in the 90s, kind of, and then she pretty explicitly died in the 2000s in New X-Men, so that might be the very first time that Jean Grey herself has completely fully died for real. And then she came back later, of course, but yeah. So even though we joke that Jean dies and comes back every other week, in reality she's only done it about 2 or 3 times. Like I said, the video I will link goes over it in much greater detail, so please check it out if you want to know the full story.
The next misconception is that the character of Kane Marco, the unstoppable juggernaut, is a mutant. He is not, in fact. The adaptations are mainly to blame for this one, since both the movies and X-Men Evolution depict him as being a mutant, but he is not. He got his powers from the Crimson Gem of Sidorak, and don't ask me to explain the history of that thing, because I don't know. Basically, Juggy lucked out while deserting from the army and was given the power to torment his stepbrother for all eternity. But he's definitely not a mutant.
Next up is another misconception that we can blame the movies for, and it is that Professor X is British and the X-Mansion is located in England. Neither of these things are true in the comics, and the latter isn't even true in the movies, but I have run across people who think that the X-Mansion is across the pond.
I note that the movies don't really explain why Professor X has a British accent. I guess just because his mother did, apparently, and because he studied in England, so sure. I guess when you get Sir Patrick Stewart, you don't ask him to change his accent. But yeah, in the case of the comics, Charlie is native to Westchester, New York, and the X-Mansion is located there as well. Not a single thing British about it, really.
And guess what? This next misconception is also the fault of movies, because my eternity vengeance quest against them is never ending. It is commonly believed that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are members of the X-Men, when that has in fact never been true. Quicksilver joined the X-Men in the movies, but in the comics he never has. He was a member of X-Factor, one of the many spin-off groups, but he has never been a part of the X-Men proper. And Wanda has never been part of any X-Team.
Like I said, this idea arose thanks to the movies, and as people learned that the twins were mutants and Magneto's kids, I think they just assumed that they were X-Men. So I would say all X-Men are mutants, but not all mutants are X-Men, but that isn't even entirely true. Looking at you, Longshot and Warlock.
This next misconception appears to be a fairly new and mostly uncommon one, but I would like to address it because it aggravates me. It also appears to be a result of, you guessed it, the movies.
So you know New Mutants, that movie that somehow actually came out last year? Within that movie, we see the character of Rain Sinclair, aka Wolfsbane, and within both descriptions of the movie and conversations about the movie, I have seen people saying that Rain is an Irish Catholic. They are wrong on both accounts.
Rain is Scottish, and she is Presbyterian. There's literally a comic where they're in Brazil, and she's inside of a Catholic church, and she's all like, oh, Reverend Craig would kill me if he knew I was inside of a Catholic church. So, like, yeah. I honestly don't know if I should entirely blame the movie for this, because to be fair, I have not actually watched the movie, but I keep seeing this. It's just like, no. I'm not really sure why it bothers me so much. Maybe because it annoys me on 2 separate levels. On one level, it's inaccurate, and I am indeed that guy. On another, even though Rain is sincere in her beliefs and it's never presented as something that she needs to overcome or anything like that, it is a fact that the guy who raised her was a terrible, awful human being, and the last thing we Catholics need is another depiction of a priest who's a garbage person. Yes, I know they exist, but that doesn't mean that every depiction of them in a book or a movie or whatever has to be one. But now we have made it to the final misconception, and this is the one that drives me absolutely insane. It is the belief that Professor Xavier has telekinesis. Tell me if you've ever seen some wise guy ask this question. If Professor X can move things with his mind, why can't he move his own legs? Well, the answer is that he can't move things with his mind, genius. I legitimately have no idea where this sprang from, because Charles has never been shown to have this ability in anything. Watch or read every single X-Men thing ever made, and you will never once see him move anything with his mind. He can read and control other people's minds. He has telepathy, not telekinesis. The worst thing is that I haven't just seen that when like someone makes that dumb joke. I've just seen people say that he has telekinesis without any trace of irony or anything, and I'm just baffled because it's like, where did you get this idea? I have to assume it's just confusion with the fact that telekinesis and telepathy sound similar, and also Jean has both powers, so maybe they just assume that Charles does as well, but he doesn't. So stop thinking that he does. I'm probably a little too passionate about that one, but I really need to get that off of my chest. It may or may not have been the whole reason that I made this. I'm really cranky in this video, aren't I? But yeah, a little bit of a shorter one today, but I kind of needed a breather. As you can probably hear, I may or may not be getting sick, so apologies for my voice sounding worse than usual. Be sure to share any misconceptions that you have run across about the X-Men, or any other superhero, or anything, I guess, I don't care. Thank you for watching and listening to the event, and I'll see you next time. Actually more like meme gray, and I oh, why did I make this joke? This next misconception is also the fault of the movies, because I say misconception that way. Why can't you speak English? The last thing we Catholics need is another depiction of why is this? It's like 5 lines long. What is wrong with you? Check out this elite lighting setup. Like that, Pippin? Yeah? I'm a professional, aren't I? Yeah.